Coming up on the Children's Hour, we've got two clinical psychologists on this show to have a conversation with our kids crew about racism. Dr. Rebecca and Dr. Danielle visit with the kids about a topic that comes up in their own practices quite a bit. What is racism and how best to combat it for kids? Then we hear from the acclaimed storyteller Len Cabral with a story about how to say something. And we've mixed this show with some poetry and excellent music. We're so glad you're with us. The Children's Hour is Kids Public Radio, produced by the Children's Hour Incorporated, a New Mexico nonprofit. Find out more about us and see pictures and links related to this show at childrenshour.org.
It's time for the Children's Hour, Kids Public Radio.
What did the left eye say to the right eye?
I don't know what.
Between us, something smells. Ugh.
It's time for the Children's Hour, Kids Public Radio.
I woke up this morning with my mind. It was stayed on freedom. Oh, well, I woke up this morning with my mind. My mind, it was stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind. It was stayed on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 I'm walking and talking with my mind. It was stay on freedom. Oh, well, I'm walking and talking with my mind. My mind, it was stay on freedom. I'm walking and talking with my mind. It was stay on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 I'm preaching and teaching with my mind. It was stay on freedom. Oh, well, I'm preaching and teaching with my mind. My mind, it was stay on freedom. I'm preaching and teaching with my mind. It was stay on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 I'm singing and shouting with my mind. It was stay on freedom. Oh, well, I'm singing and shouting with my mind. My mind, it was stay on freedom. I'm singing and shouting with my mind. It was stay on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 Whoa, 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 with your mind on freedom. Whoa, whoa, you got to whoa, whoa, you got to whoa, whoa, you got to whoa, whoa, well now, whoa, 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 you got to talk, talk, you got to talk, talk, you got to talk. Talk, or with your mind on freedom. Talk, talk, you got to talk, talk, you got to talk, talk, you got to talk, talk. Well now, talk, 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 because it ain't no harm to keep your mind. Stay on freedom. Oh well, it ain't no harm to keep your mind. Your mind, keep it stay on freedom. Ain't no harm to keep your mind. Stay on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
From a Bill Harley CD, I'm Gonna Let It Shine. I woke up this morning with my mind on freedom, and I know I did. You're listening to the Children's Hour. I'm Katie Stone. I'm delighted to be with everyone out in listener land and all these great kids on Zoom. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Who's with us today?
Hi, it's Maya.
Hello, it's Zen.
Hello, it's Amadeus.
Hi, it's Isaac.
Hello, it's Octavia.
Hi, it's Lucas.
Hi, it's Evan.
Happy day, it's Maya.
Hi, it's Daniel.
Thank you so much for being with us, everyone. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about a topic that can make people feel kind of uncomfortable. We're going to be talking about racism. We do hear about racism in the news, all of us, on the radio, on TV. But I wonder, Kids Crew, how would you define racism?
It's where somebody is judging you by the color of your skin, and it's a lie. They're lying to you, and people just believe that lie.
I think that racism is kind of a bias to a certain race or a certain type of people, which is not very good. You know, we all need to be working together and, accept each other as we are, and not necessarily be biased to one person, race, or something along those lines. But, yeah.
All of those seem really plausible, and we're going to talk more about racism and being anti-racist and how to defeat racism in our culture, the scourge that really holds us all back as a community. Dr. Rebecca Ezechukwu is a clinical psychologist in the Division of Community Behavioral Health, and she's also an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at the University of New Mexico's Health Sciences Center. And Dr. Danielle Riddle-Price is a practicing private mental health practitioner and care provider, and she's also a member of the Black Mental Health Coalition here in New Mexico. They're going to help us understand racism. Also today on the show, we're going to hear an oldie but goodie, a story by the captivating storyteller Len Cabral about the best way to say something. Plus, we have some poetry for you and amazing music, including this one, which is a single release, a collaboration with Fuchs, Rissy Palmer, and Snook Nook. You're listening to a remix of an encore edition of the Children's Hour.
History.
Hello.
We're about to take a trip and travel through time and learn about some ladies that changed all of our lives. Yeah.
Black women in history, oh, black women in history, black women in history, oh, this is her story, yeah, this is her story. Black women in history, oh, black women in history, black women in history, her story, yeah, this is her story. Black women in history, gotta say it loud so it's not a mystery. This song is dedicated to your legacy, so it's time we let them know where the sisters be.
Yeah, last name Hamer, first name Fannie Lou, civil rights leader, helped register our people to vote during Jim Crow laws in the 60s, back when blacks couldn't vote in this country.
She paved the way for future politicians, along with the first black congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. Kamala Harris made history as the first ever woman elected VP.
So many suffragists that fought for this, like Nashville's own J. Frankie Pitts, helped register thousands to vote in Tennessee and made a school for black girls in the 1920s. Could not have done it without the pioneers, the women fighting voter suppression for years, like Miss Stacey Abrams and Felicia Davis. There so many women to name, that's why this is for the black women in history.
Black women in history. This is her story. This is her story. Black women in history. Oh, black women in history. Black women in history. Her story. Yeah, this is her story.
Yeah. Much love to the Queen Rosa Parks, who didn't give up a bus seat. But real talk, there were so many women who did the same thing, like Claudette Colvin, she was only 15. Arrested because she demanded respect and refused to be told her life was worth less. Ida B. Wells had a similar tale, many years before Rosa Parks went to jail.
One of the founders of NAACP, born a slave, she was freed in 1863. 1 year later, Rebecca Crumpler, first black woman with a medical degree.
Jane Hinton and Alfreda Webb, first women African American veterinarians. Fast forward before 2020, Dr. Kizzy helps to create COVID-19 vaccine.
Black women in history. Black women in history. This is her story. This is her story. Black women in history. Black women in history. Black women in history. History, her story. Yeah, this is her story.
You know we love ya. Wives and mothers, sisters and daughters, you shine like no other. Thank you for breathing. You know we need ya. Thank you for existing. Your presence is a blessing. Your impact and accomplishments, we thank ya. We thank ya. Thank you.
Futurissy Palmer and Snook Nook, Black Women in History. This is the Children's Hour. With us today is Dr. Rebecca Ezechukwu. She is a clinical psychologist in the Division of Community Behavioral Health and an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at the University of New Mexico Health Sciences Center. Also with us is Dr. Danielle Riddle-Price. She is a clinical psychologist working in private practice with Riddle-Price Associates. They provide mental health services to youth and their families. Welcome to the Children's Hour.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. We're glad to be here.
You heard the kids try to define what racism is. Can you tell us what do you think of their definitions? How did they do? And how would you define racism?
Well, I think the kids have a great start. And I heard some good comments about, biases towards certain races, treating people differently because of the color of their skin. And I really think that we're getting close to what racism is, because I think it is one of those topics that sometimes can be really confusing and hard to understand. And Dr. Danielle and I were talking before this, and I thought that she had a really great way of simplifying this for kids maybe who are just now learning about what racism is or trying to understand it a little bit better. So Danielle, let me kick it to you.
Great definitions, very good definitions. And it's I'm working with clients who are some of your ages, actually. And I work with them and I teach them about unfair. Who in the room has something that happened to them that was unfair, that you think was not fair to you? Can everyone say they've had something happen that they thought was unfair?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. So I see somebody has a brother and sister. So is there ever some unfairness that you see between brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
And sometimes we feel like they get treated unfairly, like they get 2 scoops of ice cream instead of 1, or they get to get a new bike, or they get new tennis shoes and you don't. So if you think about it in terms of what's fair and unfair, we understand that. We understand that it's not fair for you to get to go outside and play for an hour and I can't go outside at all. So if you look at it in the terms of, if it's unfair to treat someone a certain way because of the color of their skin, it's unfair for them to be hurt or to be scared or to be fearful or to not have the same breaks in life just because they happen to be a different shade, right? So that's how you look at it when you look at being fair and unfair. And that just makes it really simple. If you can be kind to everyone, no matter what they look like, that's a huge step, right? And getting rid of that bias. I think I love what Maya said. It's like they're lying to you about what they see when they see that person. And I think it's very helpful for us to keep in mind that we just want to be fair. We want to be treated fair. How would you want to be treated?
Kids don't start off being racist, do they?
No. If you think about it, the simplest way is preschool, or little kids playing at the park when they're toddlers. They don't care what color the other kid they're playing with is. They just want to play because that's their friend, right? It's more of a small cues that are provided from their parents or people around them, because we are their filters. Parents are your filters to the world. So how they react to people around you is how you learn to react, and how you view things and things that we say without even realizing it. There are some things that we say and don't do. And sometimes it's not, you're teaching your kid to be racist, but you're not teaching them to not be racist. If that makes sense.
Well, we definitely want to cover that on the Children's Hour. Not only how to understand what racism is, but also how to be anti-racist. Have any of you learned about racism in school?
Partly.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
Really like history, history,
yeah.
like taking like the people of different color as slaves. And so, yeah, we've learned about it in history, but not like modern racism.
Once I became a homeschool, then I started to learn about it a little bit more. But apart from that, no.
In school, no, but homeschooled, yes.
Why aren't we learning about racism in school? And what could schools be doing?
Well, I think that's a great question. And I'm amazed, but also not completely surprised to see all of the kids kind of shaking their heads about not learning so much about racism. I will say at this point, I think children are never too young to talk about race, and it's never too late to start. And so for the parents who are listening, I would encourage you to, for young kids, preschool and younger, some of what you're doing to start to help kids develop their anti-racist qualities and just being anti-racist is helping them to make sense of what they're seeing in the world. So much of what we learn about race is first coming through sight, and that's how kids are learning. And so, helping kids to just notice what they're seeing in the world, describing physical differences associated with race, like skin tone, voices. Because the research actually shows us that kids as young as toddlers and even younger than that are already aware of and thinking about differences that have to do with race at such a young age. So I think, as far as how we teach kids and how we learn, it's not just learning about racism, it's learning how to recognize and understand the privilege that being white, being a white person has had a lot of privilege over history. And sometimes the ways that we see that privilege, we may not even realize. So if you think about it, the books that you read may have characters that are all white and skin tone. And so one way that we can start to even just introduce this understanding that there are multiple and varied individuals and races is just introducing folks to those materials at a very early age. Looking around you when you go to the store, what kinds of advertising are you seeing? Who is labeled? Who are the labels depicting? There's a lot of whiteness in our products and in what we consume. And if we don't recognize that, then in some ways that's one way that bias can continue to play out. So someone was talking about how do we address our bias? Well, we just start to notice what's around us a little bit more clearly. So when you're in the store or when you're in your classroom, even looking through your history books, what are the images that you're seeing? That can tell you a lot about what has already existed before you.
I am watching Little House on the Prairie. It has racism in it, because the mom, she never wants to see a Native American.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you know can you tell how she's feeling when she says that she never wants to see a Native American?
She's feeling upset.
She's feeling upset. And I would bet she's probably also feeling scared. So one of the things that we know contributes to racism is when we feel scared of people because of their race. And for many of us, we may not realize that we're feeling scared. But oftentimes, if we pay attention to the way that our bodies feel, when we're witnessing racism or we're witnessing really stressful experiences like protests, our bodies can tell us a lot about what we might be feeling. And so noticing, is our heart beating fast when we're trying to have these conversations? Or are we feeling like it's very hard to talk when we notice somebody else experiencing racism? Or are we having trouble asking our parents questions? Sometimes that's a way that might contribute to not talking about these very important topics. It's really interesting. I think a lot of kids actually have a lot of questions about race that they don't feel comfortable asking their parents. And so, again, if I were to give advice to the parents out there, it would be to, ask your kids what they're seeing, and sometimes just leading with open-ended questions. So what did you see today on the news? Or what did you see outside? And how are you feeling? What questions might you have? And I think parents sometimes get really worried about having all the right answers for these conversations. And sometimes if you're just creating a space for kids to express what they're seeing, that can actually open the conversation up quite a bit. And you may find as a parent, you actually do have the ability to navigate these conversations.
We're speaking with Dr. Rebecca Ezechukwu. She is a clinical psychologist at the Division of Community Behavioral Health and an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at the University of New Mexico Health Sciences Center. And we're talking with Dr. Danielle. Dr. Danielle Riddle-Price is a licensed mental health provider and also a member of the Black Mental Health Coalition.
You're listening to the Children's Hour, Kids Public Radio. We'll be right back.
The Children's Hour is an independent production of the Children's Hour Incorporated, a New Mexico nonprofit. Support for the Children's Hour provided by Electric Playhouse, an immersive entertainment and events center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. The Playhouse is open. You can purchase tickets, learn about events, play, and other opportunities, including future locations and music shows at electricplayhouse.com. Support for the Children's Hour provided by Lori Berkner, hosting 2 live-streamed interactive virtual Valentine's Day family party concerts on Sunday, February 13th at noon and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 1 ticket for both shows. Tickets at live.loriberkner.com.
What is the future about?
Making it so everybody feels like they belong here.
Fresh?
But first, it has to be our world because they had their chance at having it with their world.
They had their chance many years ago. Now it needs to be our time.
Being woke means waking up, getting to work, and making it happen. Not resting for this racist stuff.
I think woke means wake up from stuff like, instead of doing something the same thing, try to challenge yourself to do something else or to believe something or give it a chance.
All stars. Y'all ready? Alright, focus. Let's go. Now put your hands in the sky, wave them side to side. We ain't going nowhere, we just waving bye-bye. All of the haters, to all the haters, to all of the haters. Say I'll see you later. Let's go. Go time to be the change. Set the world on fire, be the flame. Rise higher, level up, do the thing. Shine brighter, be a fighter, push through the pain. Blaze a trail, lend a helping hand. Represent, take a stand. Change the game, sticking to the plan. Hold tight, shine bright, that's who I am. And I don't know though, what you have been told though. All I know though is going for the gold though. Give my all, all my heart, all my soul though. Don't bend, don't break though. Now put your hands in the sky, waving side to side. We ain't going nowhere, we just waving bye-bye. All of the haters, to all the haters, to all of the haters. Say I'll see you later. Put your hands in the sky, waving side to side. We ain't going nowhere, we just waving bye-bye. All of the haters, to all the haters, to all of the haters. Say I'll see you later. I won't apologize for my fresh. If I owe the world anything, it's my best. And that's what you get when I'm just myself. So I refuse to switch or adjust myself. Hey, I got the cheat code, yeah, I got the cheat code. It's so easy, it's just to be me though. I got the cheat code, yeah, I got the cheat code. It's so easy, it's just to be me though. 1, 2 step, baby, 1, 2 step. Touchdown dance, celebrate yourself. I said 1, 2 step, baby, 1, 2 step. Touchdown dance, celebrate yourself. Now put your hands in the sky, waving side to side. We ain't going nowhere, we just waving bye-bye. All of the haters, to all the haters, to all of the haters. Say I'll see you later. Put your hands in the sky, waving side to side. We ain't going nowhere, we just waving bye-bye. All of the haters, to all the haters, to all of the...
From a compilation CD called Hold Tight, Shine Bright, that was Saul Paul, Hands in the Sky. And before that, you heard from the Alphabet Rockers, Woke, from their CD Rise, Shine, Woke. You're listening to an encore edition of the Children's Hour that we recorded in the summer of 2020. Some of the things you're going to hear about happened back then, but they really haven't stopped. You're listening to the Children's Hour, and we're talking about racism. We're speaking with Dr. Rebecca Ezechukwu. She is a clinical psychologist at the Division of Community Behavioral Health and an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at the University of New Mexico Health Sciences Center. And we're talking with Dr. Danielle. Dr. Danielle Riddle-Price is a licensed mental health provider and also a member of the Black Mental Health Coalition. We have to talk about what's happening now on the ground in our country. And I want to ask the kids' crew, have you been following the news? Does anyone want to sort of take a stab at what are you seeing in the news?
Okay, so I believe that after the murder of a black man, George Floyd, when a police officer knelt on his neck for about 8 minutes, suffocating him, there were many protests of police brutality and racism, that police are going into using tear gas, rubber bullets, all these horrible things. And these are peaceful protesters, yet the police are still using mace and all this horrible stuff. And I believe the protest is in 400, 500 major cities now.
I want to ask our doctors who are with us, our psychologists, Dr. Ezechukwu and Dr. Danielle, can we talk a little bit about what's happening right now? And, clearly kids see it from all different kinds of ways.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Danielle and I have clinical practice, and so we have been having these conversations with the kids in our clinical practice, and depending on how old kids are, their ways of making sense of this information is going to be very different. Even, the difference between what you're seeing and what you're hearing and, equating that with truth. And so Lucas was the person who mentioned that most of these protests are peaceful. And that's right. And I think that's one thing to keep in mind is that, the ability to protest is a constitutional liberty. It's a right. And the fact that people are out there using their voices to protest racism and police brutality and injustice is a right that they have. And so I think recognizing that the majority of people who are out there are doing this for purposes of making this country better, for using their voices, for demonstrating that what we've been experiencing as a country is not okay. And we don't want to continue to say that it's okay. Because there is violence also happening within these peaceful protests, that makes everything much more confusing and I think a lot scarier when you're a kid. And so what I would encourage, the kids that are seeing some of what's happening in our community or watching it on the news, is asking your parents questions about what you're seeing. And I think this is also where a conversation about healthy media intake comes into play and ensuring that parents are watching media with their kids. So if there are things that you are both watching together, at least parents can help correct any misconceptions, or at the very least be a supportive presence for a child to just express what they're seeing. It's really important for us to ask kids what they're seeing and what questions they have, rather than assuming that we know how they're making sense of all this information, because there's a lot of content too that they may just hear passing through a room.
I think all of us have the right to feel very angry, but sometimes kids can feel like when they see grown-ups being angry, that alone is scary.
Anger is a natural human feeling. Everyone gets angry. It's how we handle it and what we do with it, how we channel it. Don't just be angry and hit something or sit and be mad about it. What are you going to do? What can you do? How can you help those around you? And a big question that's come up is a lot of my clients have asked me, what can they do to help their Black friends? And some of the Black kids have asked as well, all my friends are white. What do? I don't want to feel bad against them. They're still my friends. So helping them understand just to have the conversation, just saying, I support you as my friend is all you have to do. For the kids who have friends who are African-American, being there, not shunning the conversation away if it comes up and just saying, I support you. They've gotten a lot of phone calls from friends, or they've called their friends saying, I support you and I'm sorry this is happening to people that you may know or people that look like you. So for all the parents, limit the amount of exposure that you're giving, from COVID-19 to the racism acts that are happening, making sure that you're running that boat with your kids, and that you're that voice that tells them how to handle their anger and what to do.
So what can we do to be anti-racist?
I think first, being aware that people are different than you, being aware that just because you're not afraid to be on your bike driving down the street, or if you get pulled over, you're not afraid that the police are going to harm you, or that someone's going to do something to you. Being aware that if you have a Black friend, that they do have that fear, that they may have that fear. So just being understanding of that. I think learning to understand other races, so doing some reading on your own. You have your phones and your computers and your tablets, so you can research a lot of things that are age appropriate for you. And if you need help, you can always go to your parents, go to a teacher. One of the kids decided to do a book report, one of my clients, on an African American from back in the Civil War times, just because he wanted to learn. So he had to do his own research. So when you have a choice at school to pick someone, when they give you assignments for history, you can pick someone who's African American, or just listening to what you're thinking when you see someone of a different color or race. How are you feeling when you see them? Are you afraid? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Are you happy? Do you see them as different? And then asking a parent or someone, say, why do I feel that way about them? What is it about them that's making me feel differently than I would if they were white?
Yeah, I think those were great, Dr. Danielle. I would just add that I think for the kids that identify as white on the crew, and just who, those that are listening, I think it's really important to ask your parents and learn about your own racial and cultural identity. And I think that, oftentimes when we're talking about race, we sort of just assume that race is only impacting people of color, but white is a race as well. And sometimes when we're able to learn more about our own backgrounds, it actually makes it easier to learn about other people and understand and accept the differences that other people have that make them unique. I think also, as a kid, ways to be anti-racist, to be, white allies, or accomplice is another term that I've heard lately as well. But it's understanding that people get bullied for lots of different reasons, including their skin color. And so if you see something like that happening, letting people know you're bullying, that's racist. I don't accept that. And just being able to stand up to that as you can. I would also say, know your privilege. I mentioned earlier this idea that racism is more than just about stereotypes and individual prejudice. It's about the ways that our nation, the policies and the institutions that have been designed to help white people get ahead and people of color, it makes it a lot harder to do that. And so recognizing that racism isn't just about what's happening interpersonally or individually, but it's happening all around us. So recognizing that, if you're a white kid, because of your skin being white, some people may think that you're smarter or treat you nice or even give you things that you didn't earn. And we call that privilege. So even though you didn't earn it and you have it, you still may have to work really hard. So sometimes we tell people, like, being white might be like you're getting extra credit on an assignment that you completed. But because of this extra credit, it's almost like you have more of a responsibility to do something with it. And so recognizing that some people are going to be treated poorly, be blamed for things that they didn't do, or get into trouble for things that they didn't do more so than you would. And so how can you use the advantages that you've had in life to be able to stand up for others?
What if we're a kid and we notice an adult being racist or being unfair or unkind to somebody else? How can we help with that?
Great question. And I think it's hard, right? Sometimes as a kid, we may not always have the power or the ability to stand up to adults, right? And I think that's kind of even similar, I think, to Black person also trying to stand up. It may not always feel like you can do it, like someone has more power than you. So what I would say is, if you're a kid and you notice an adult doing something racist or biased, is if you feel like you can say something in the moment, great. But I think for most kids, it's important to tell someone that you trust, tell an adult that you trust what you saw, and just point it out. Just say, I was at school, or I was at the park, and I saw this happen, and this happened. I'm feeling what? So think about how you might feel when you see something like that happen. Angry, confused, shocked, sad. the ability to be able to name what you're feeling is going to help you as you get older and figure out what you can do with those feelings when you have more power. But if we don't express what we feel when we notice racism happening, then we may learn to suppress those feelings. We may never investigate what they mean, and we may never know what to do with them. And so we may continue to contribute to bias unintentionally. So I think asking a teacher, a parent, a coach, anybody that you trust, and just letting them know that you saw that, and know that it takes a lot of courage to tell someone when you see something like that happening. And just to recognize, like, it takes bravery, and we can do it. It's one way to support others.
Dr. Rebecca Ezechukwu, clinical psychologist in the Division of Community and Behavioral Health and an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at the University of New Mexico Health Sciences Center. And Dr. Danielle Riddle-Price is a clinical psychologist working in private practice. Her practice is named Riddle-Price Associates, and they provide mental health services to youth and their families. She's also a member of the Black Mental Health Coalition. It's just been such a pleasure to have you on the Children's Hour. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us about this today.
I was so excited to meet all of you, and thank you for all of your questions and for the work that you're doing. Remember that you are the role models for your peers and your friends. And so I ask that you continue to probe and ask those questions, like Dr. Rebecca said, and to notice when there's inequality, notice when things are unfair, and how you feel about it and what you can do.
I just loved being a part of this conversation and hearing the real kid questions, because I think sometimes as adults we can talk about this in adult words at the adult level and just forget that our kids are hearing and seeing everything that we're doing. They are our future. And for kids and parents, try to have these conversations, in any open conversation that you can have about race, that you can have about disability, that you can have about gender inequality. All of that can help prevent confusion. It can help prevent hurt. And most of all, it can help prevent the danger of just being silent. Sometimes the worst things that we can do is say, we don't talk about that in our house, or, when we point out skin color, saying something like, shh, which is it's an experience that I've witnessed, And so I think kids, push your parents to have these conversations, because I think many kids may be more equipped to start these conversations than parents. And parents, be brave, right? You are raising kids of the next generation. And there's just so much that we can do to support them. So thank you for having me today.
You're listening to the Children's Hour. Coming up, a story by Len Cabral. But first, Pierce Freelon, right here on the Children's Hour.
Thank you for being a friend. You are golden. Some friends will fold aluminum foil. Some friends will hold them. You are royal. I want to explore new things. But Drake said no new friends. But we moved and I miss you. Sometimes I feel so sad I need a tissue. The best friend I ever had. You always have my back even when I'm being bad. Oh. And you never judge me. I will never forget the way you love me. Never forget, never forget. Never forget, never forget. Trust me, I will never forget, never forget. Never forget, never forget, never.
Make new friends and keep the old. Some are silver and some are soul. Silver and some are gold. I remember when we first met. I always thought we'd be together forever. But people grow apart and things fall apart. You always
forget. Never forget, never forget. Never forget, never forget. Never forget, never forget. Never forget, never forget.
You're listening to the Children's Hour, Kids Public Radio. We'll be right back.
The Children's Hour radio show is an independent production of the Children's Hour Incorporated, a New Mexico nonprofit. The Children's Hour is supported in part by an award from New Mexico Arts, a division of the New Mexico Department of Cultural Affairs, and the National Endowment for the Arts. Support for the Children's Hour is provided by the County of Bernalillo, New Mexico, bernco.gov. Support for the Children's Hour is also provided by the City of Albuquerque's Cultural Services Department and the Urban Enhancement Trust Fund. Support for the Children's Hour is provided by Token Ibis, a nonprofit making philanthropy accessible to everyone. To sign up, go to tokenibis.org.
U-N-I-T-Y, 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 U-N-I-T-Y. We can fly so high, we can fly so high. With U-N-I-T-Y, with U-N-I-T-Y. Together we will be, together we will be. Like a family, like a family. No one can break us apart, no one can break us apart. Because we're one big heart, because we're one big heart. With determination, with determination. We can build a nation, we can build a nation. We can fly so high, we can fly so high. With U-N-I-T-Y, with U-N-I-T-Y. I got your back and you got mine. Working together we can save some time. I got you and you got me. Stand together in unity. U-N-I-T-Y, U-N-I-T-Y. We can fly so high with U-N-I-T-Y. Yeah.
In the early 70s, I was living in an apartment in Providence, right across the street from a building where my brother was working. And every now and then we'd go out for lunch together. And one day we went out for lunch. And it was in August. It was a hot August day, and I was driving. We had lunch, and we were driving back to where I lived and where he worked. And as we was driving up the street, riding down the street on a bicycle that was way, way too small for him, was this guy who was huge. He was huge. He didn't have a shirt on. All he had on was muscles. He had muscles on top of muscles. He had muscles where most of us don't even have places. He was huge. He was so big, he'd make King Kong apologize. That's how big he was. And he's riding down the street. I said to my brother, Allie, look at the size of this guy. And as he rode by us, he blocked out the sun. We were in the shade. I said, wow. We continued driving until we came to a parking lot. It was a community parking lot. I pulled into that lot and I looked, and right there in the middle of the parking lot was a car. And its 4 doors were open. And there were people sitting in the car. And the people in the car, they just had their lunch. And I could tell they just had their lunch because everything they didn't eat was on the ground outside the car. There were potato chip bags, soda cans, McDonald's boxes, Dunkin' Donut boxes, banana peels, all this trash. I said, no way, no way. They're going to clean this mess up. I live here. They don't live here. They're going to clean this mess up. So I parked the car. My brother and I, we get out of the car. We start walking across the parking lot, feeling like a couple of gladiators. When all of a sudden, I stop. Because I noticed from the corner of my eye, I noticed that fellow with all the muscles. He rides that bike back into the parking lot, gets off the bike, and gives it to a little boy whose bike it was. And that fellow with all the muscles, he walked across the parking lot, over to that car, and he sits down in the driver's seat. It's his car. Those are his friends. It's their trash. Right away I stop. I had to reevaluate the situation. I said to my brother, Allie, it doesn't look that bad. And it didn't look that bad. I said, I could always clean it up myself. No problem. Come on, let's go. And I thought my brother agreed with me as we walked across the street and we stood on the curb on the other side of the street. We stood there and we watched and we listened as all the doors of that car closed at once. Vroom! And that fellow with all the muscles, he put one hand on the steering wheel, dropped his other arm out the window of the car. His arm was so long, it touched the ground. He kick-started the car with a little nudge. His knuckles were dragging on the ground, sparks coming from his jewelry. He pulled out of the parking lot, out into the street. He started to drive by us. I was standing there with my mouth wide open. And he started to drive by us when all of a sudden I heard my brother's voice. My brother said, "Excuse me, excuse me." My heart went, bing. "Excuse me." The fellow driving the car looks at us, reaches back, pinches the rear tire of the car. My brother says, "Excuse me, can we have that stuff over there? The banana peels, the soda cans, McDonald's boxes, Dunkin' Donut boxes. Can we have all that stuff?" The guy looks at us, looks at all that trash, looks back at us, reaches over, and he grabs the shift. I'm praying that he's going to put it in reverse and not park. He put it in reverse. He released the rear tire of the car. The car rolled back down the street. He turned it into that parking lot, right into the center of all that trash. He pinched the rear tire. He gets out of the car. He orders his friends out of the car. He points and they pick. He points and they pick. They're as afraid of him as I am. They pick up all their trash, plus trash that had been there for 6 weeks. And they put it in a big dumpster. They get back into the car. The doors all close. Boom! He puts one hand on the steering wheel, drops his other arm out the window of the car. His arm is so long, it touches the ground. He kickstarts the car, once again with a little nudge. His knuckles are dragging on the ground, sparks coming from his jewelry. He pulls out of the parking lot, out into the street. He starts to drive by us. I'm standing there with my mouth wide open. He looks at us, raises his arm up into the air, gives us the power salute with a big smile on his face, and he drives down the street. I can't believe it. My brother, he nudges me and says, "Len, it's not what you say, it's how you say it." Tact.
Go fast, walk by yourself. If you wanna go far, walk with someone else. Right by my side, I got my tribe right by my side. Right by my side, I keep my tribe right by my side. They say to raise a kid, it take a village. That's the way it's been and the way it still is. It don't matter if you're broke or making millions. You need the real ones, the folks, never faking feelings. It's obvious now, the sprout is the south. We gotta evolve and fight to be the top of the pile. For the king of the hill, that crown gets so heavy. It's lonely at the top and hard to hold steady. Power-hungry fantasies cause insanity. It's family that gives you power like Stan Lee. Not a cow, but a stampede, understand me? Cause when your head's in the clouds and you can't see, that's when you fall for that old trick, divide and conquer. But multiply with that many times stronger. I got a team, so my dream's gonna last longer. And I don't fall for the schemes from fast talkers. If you wanna go fast, walk by yourself. If you wanna go far, walk with someone else. Right by my side. I got my tribe right by my side. Right by my side. I keep my tribe right by my side. Life happens in cycles, circles like vinyl. First to the final, staying tribal. Always works for survival, so I don't stifle that urge cause it's primal. Human beings don't work alone, take you and me. Add 2 or 3 more, now you got community. Add 4 or 5, the tribe grows beautifully. The song of unity, I sing along fluently. Different strokes for different folks, but when we roll different boats, it gets difficult. When we band together and stand together, we can make a city, state, or planet better. Mental syndromes that break us down by 10 towns should have been gone. And in the past, like Flintstones, we sing songs to wake you up like ringtones. We're one tribe and unified, we're strong like King Kong. If you wanna go fast, walk by yourself. If you wanna go far, walk with someone else. Right by my side. I got my tribe right by my side. Right by my side. I keep my tribe right by my side. Right by my side. Got my tribe, right by my side.
People equal. Some people shoot up tall. Some hardly leave the ground at all. Yet, people equal, equal. One voice is a sweet mango. Another is a non-sugar tomato. Yet, people equal, equal. Some people rush to the front. Others hang back feeling they can't. Yet, people equal, equal. Hammer some people, you meet a wall. Blow hard on others, they fall. Yet, people equal, equal. One person will aim at a star. For another, a hilltop is too far. Yet, people equal, equal. Some people get on with their show. Others never get on the go. Yet, people equal, equal.
That's James Berry from a poetry collection called Hip Hop Speaks to Children. And in the background, Poddington Bear. You heard Secret Agent 23 Skidoo. Right by My Side is the name of that tune. Why Can't We Be Friends? Radio edit was War, done by Katie, the radio edit. Len Cabral was our storyteller, and Ayanna Gregory opened up that set. We've got time for one more. This is Saul Paul featuring Mo Williams, right here on the Children's Hour. We'll catch you next time.
It's to be true, there's only one of you. And you shine like stars, cause you are. It's to be true, there's only one of you. And you shine like stars, cause you are. Stardust. You are. Stardust. You are. Stardust. You are. Stardust. Stardust, yeah, that are us. Clay in the maker's hand, kinda like the toys was. Put together intricate like Lego. Let's get it, yeah, Lego. Hello. We are just reflections, echoes, imperfect perfections. Yes, no, you choose your selection. Open book quiz, no need for the guessing. You are beautiful. Look, I filled in the blank. I can't tell you what to feel. I can't tell you what to think or think. But if you don't feel your tank, you sink. You were born on purpose, with a purpose. Facts. Know this to be true, there's only one of you. And you shine like stars, 'cause you are. Know this to be true, there's only one of you. And you shine like stars, 'cause you are. Stardust. 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 Hey. Stardust. Love wins, even if you get hurt. Love again, love begins and you shouldn't end. Love yourself like you love your friends. Think about it. Self-love starts with loving oneself, love. It's a skill to learn to pick oneself up. But it don't have to stop there. Keep going and you learn to care. And you learn to share. Who would've knew that? That's how you do that. Your host bro, ayy, I know we're glue at. It's time to go, but when you boost that, it's time to move back. You've been in my A, yeah, missing in action. What's really been missing is your passion. Little bit of vision, mixed with some action. You could do more than you'd imagine. So just step into it, just step. Step into it, just step. Step into it, just step. Step into it, step into it. Step into it, just step. Step into it, just step. Step into it, just step. Step. Shine like stars. Stardust.
The Children's Hour is an independent production of the Children's Hour Incorporated, a New Mexico nonprofit corporation.
Our show was written by Katie Stone, with help from all of us in the kids crew.
Find lots of information about us at childrenshour.org.
Many thanks to our guests today, Dr. Danielle Riddle-Price and Dr. Rebecca Ezechukwu, for being with us on the show today.
Our podcast can be found wherever you get your podcasts or at patreon.com/The Children's Hour.
Or ask your smart speaker to play the Children's Hour podcast.
We post our photos and more on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Find us at TCH Radio.
Our theme music is written by C.K. Barlow.
The Children's Hour is distributed by the Children's Hour Incorporated, PRX, and the Pacifica Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to the Children's Hour, Kids Public Radio.